Welcome back to Dano Does Things. This week we're using watercolor to paint a possibly over-elaborate birthday card. You'll need the actual card piece of the watercolor paper, the one that flips open, and then a second single sheet of watercolor paper about the same size or smaller than your card. We'll start with the actual card piece first and make our background a lovely little prairie field and, of course, a cloudy blue sky. Mask off the edges with masking tape. Now this card is for my boyfriend's mom. Shopping for her can be difficult in the best of times, let alone when you really shouldn't be out browsing, so this homemade card was my contribution, which is probably why I made it so elaborate. But it turned out really awesome, so I'm glad that I did it. We're going to start by painting the field first. You could definitely start with the sky first, but this is just what happened. We're picturing this field from far away, so you only need to give the impression of what's going on and don't need a ton of details. Layer some rich yellows for fields of wheat, some browns and brownish blacks to give it some depth. Key thing to note, I don't add black watercolor to make the browns darker, I add blues and reds, which gives it a more true color. Mix green with what you already have on your palette and lay it down in a few spots to give the impression of bushes or clumps of trees. Add a few above the horizon too to show the trees being higher than the field. Okay, time for yet another new technique for painting clouds. This time I'm starting by sharply defining where the clouds will be and working backwards from there. Often I'll wet the whole paper before I paint a sky, but I really wanted this one to be super punchy, so I'm painting on dry paper. Now it's just a game of layering, making sure that the top of the sky gets lots of deep blue pigments and that we taper it off towards the bottom so the horizon is almost white. Once the sky is the color we want, we'll mix up a dark grayish purple to give our clouds a shadow on their underside. Okay, that's the background down. Time to set it aside to dry and work on the foreground. First, let's draw a banner. In my videos, I often skip this step while filming and have it drawn already, but I thought it might be helpful to see the sketching process I go through. Time to write happy birthday on your banner. Now we're going to draw a bundle of wheat and lavender, so we'll sketch out 3 stalks on the right-hand side of the banner. Keep these lines light as we'll be painting over them. Using the same color as your field and a tiny paintbrush, go over your 2 outside lines. Grab a slightly bigger round brush and use that to make the seeds, I guess, of the wheat plants. We'll be cutting off most of this paper, so feel free to test out in the corners so you can get the shape you want, a sort of oval shape with one longer pointy side. The long pointy side will be facing away from the stalk, and you'll want to make them smaller as you get closer to the top edge. If you want, you can extend them outward a bit more with a teeny tiny brush to give them that wispy look. For the lavender, we'll need a dark green stem, and this time don't paint it to the very top of your line. Mix up some red and blue to get the shade of purple you desire. The lavender buds are similar in shape to the wheat, but a bit smaller and more overlapped. Finally, go over your banner with a marker. The fancy ones I have are cool, but not required. A Sharpie will do just fine. It is time for surgery. Cut out your piece, leaving a smaller border around it. By now, your background should be dry, so peel off the tape carefully and get ready for assembly. You could always just glue the banner piece directly to the background, but I told you I was being elaborate today, so I'm using these little pieces of foam board to make the card 3D. We'll start by gluing the foam board to the banner piece, making sure no edges of the foam board stick out the side. Then I'm going to let that side dry before connecting them to the background. I'm sure you could do it all at once if you wanted, but I wanted it to be foolproof. Now glue the other side of the foam board and carefully place it on your background. Sometimes watercolor paper warps a bit, so place the whole thing under a heavy book until it dries flat. Okay, I'm super stoked about how this turned out, and I hope it inspires you to make something elaborate and fun. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.